For the full show and interview, don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. What you're about to hear is simply a excerpt of the full interview done on those shows. Hello, listeners. Welcome to another episode of Kessel Run Collecting. I'm your host, Eric, and with me, as always, my good friend Matt.
What's going on, people?
And tonight, we are going to be adding another Matt to the mix. Matt Cohen, who is also known under the heading Shooting the Galaxy on Instagram. And he is a toy photographer that does really, really excellent work. And if you've taken a look at some of the really nice pictures with the colored backdrops that Hasbro's been doing whenever they reveal new figures, that is his work. All right, and as our guest tonight, we have Matthew Cohen, who goes by Shooting the Galaxy. Or is that just your handle, or is that actually like a business type name you go by?
At this point, I guess it's my business name. My fiance actually came up with that. I have a was gonna end up using my gamer tag because it was the only other handle that I have besides my my actual name. At this point, yeah, if I ever get around to having like a logo made, it would include Shooting the Galaxy. So at this point, yeah, it's my business.
I think we met on Yakface forums, if I remember, because I think there was some debate about 6 inch versus 3 3/4, and you were saying yes, but like 6 inch photographs better, and I think that might have been one of our first interactions
Oh, maybe. I
because
hope I wasn't a dick because sometimes it gets intense on those forums.
no. I mean, we did go back and forth
Yeah.
a little bit because I remember I had said something along the lines of from the standpoint of what sells,
hmm
it's 3 3/4. You know that big because even though 6 inch is very very popular, it doesn't have the world building and it doesn't have the heritage, and so that's why you see stuff like besides some other bad choices they made, it's why you see a Rancor HasLab fail. It's why a lot of the vehicles end up getting discounted because a lot of those people are figure collectors. They're not as big into the world building and it takes up more space. Because I
Yeah.
actually think the 6 inch stuff is really good. And I do agree because it's bigger and more detailed. A lot of that works for photography better.
I mean, it's strengths and weaknesses. There's no doubt that 3.75 is the heritage scale, obviously, and the world building scale. You have 40 years of action figures to build your scenes out with.
I was always wondering how much would it, how many does it ever influence any of your, does it influence any of your work, like the different like emotions you feel? I assume that it does. Into your translating the emotions you feel from them,
Oh
from the
yeah.
OT into them.
I mean, when I'm photographing at work or at home, I'm always playing music related to either like distilled down to the exact thing that I'm trying to copy, like, either in a pose for like just for like a Black Series or a vintage reveal where it's just a pose. There's no diorama or anything like that. If I'm
Mm,
either listening to like general music from that particular film or game or whatever, or I'm listening to music in that exact scene.
mm, interesting. Actually, now a quick aside. We'll come back to the conversation here. I was listening to another podcast where Matt Fox mentioned he was like, "Kudos whoever took those pictures," because he mentioned the one picture I remember, where I assume did you one of him looking at his stump, the hand that he did?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
that whole
yeah,
shoot was mine.
nice, nice. Yeah, Matt Fox even talked about it. I was like, yeah, I wonder if that was Matt Cohen's work, but we
that
didn't
yeah,
know.
that was me. I did like that. I just that one was just kind of fun because I didn't know necessarily what else to do with him because he doesn't come with a Luke Skywalker figure, so it's not like I could film. You can't shoot him with a something he doesn't come with, so he
Hmm.
just has to emote on his own essentially. So that one was just kind of fun to have like a how do I portray the stump.
So, Matt, do you collect more than just Star Wars?
I try to limit it to Star Wars. I have
Did my
a lot of. I mean, I have other. Hasbro properties. I have Power Rangers, some Ghostbuster stuff. Let me look behind me. What do I have on my shelf? I've been collecting. I've been really enjoying the VHS X-Men cell shaded '90s cartoon stuff because I grew up with that. But I really really focus on Star Wars because I can't like fill every square inch of my house.
Oh,
You
oh,
know.
yeah.
I
I
try. I want to, but at the same time I can't. I have other things like I have I don't know if you guys are familiar with Gundam, the model
I
kits.
that was actually something I had written in my notes with 3 exclamation points, "Gundam!" Because yeah, I'm a Gundam fan too, so
That's cool.
and actually I tried taking some photos with one in front of a green screen, and I'm like, because I wanted to try to get into putting in some different backgrounds and stuff. Just
I
didn't work
don't
out for me.
I don't do green screen stuff too much. What I do instead is called a digirama, which is I'm not sure who in the toy community invented it. And basically you're shooting. It's like the volume how they shoot the Mandalorian. You're shooting your figure or model in front of a screen. So your TV or your computer monitor, and you just instead of having to do a green screen and then replace the background later, you take the picture of the figure in front of the image you want from the start.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's a little tricky. You gotta put some space between, the figure and the backdrop, and depending on the more space that you need, kind of depends on the resolution of your monitor. Like a 4K TV, you can
Yeah,
kind of get closer to than an older 1080p or something.
yeah. I
Um,
think I've seen some guys in Rebel Scum do that, but I don't know if they were the coined the term. That
if
Digirama.
if you look through like I haven't done digiramas in a while because the in my new house, the where my the TV stand isn't very friendly for doing that because I have to it kind of the TV kind of sits high, and so I need to like stack books and then put a table on top of it to raise it to that height, you know what I mean? Whereas I had a lower stand in my last place. So I did more of them. But if you scroll back through my work, or if you go to like the behind the scenes on my website, you can see some of that. Like the third, I'm on my looking on my website right now. Like the third picture set, which is like a Spider-Man and uh Spider Gwen picture. You can see that technique.
I'm assuming that you were already into photography before the toy photography came along, and so what kind of transition do you into that? Because I'm assuming that's kind of what you're known for now is the toy photography, right?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. My dad. He was older, but was one of those older guys that was just into technology. So we always had him on our computer that he built, or we had cameras, stereo systems. Like he was very into technology. So we always had a camera in the house, and he liked taking pictures, and I remember that. So my photography kind of stemmed from that. But I never had, we always had like a nice point and shoot, not like a fancy DSLR or the equivalent, the film equivalent, um, uh, and see that's how I'm actually kind of new to photography. I was not super. I wasn't into it like that until toys. Essentially, like I had my camera on my phone, and I always wanted to get into more serious photography with a more serious camera, but it didn't happen until I got back into collecting toys. So I kind of skipped the whole film and early digital photography scene, and I really only started photography about 6 years ago now, like late 2017. So before that, it was all. I'm sorry.
You missed a lot of headaches and hassle skipping that
Yeah,
much. Let me
yeah.
let you know.
So it
Oh my
is.
god.
I mean, I can't like watching people use light meters, and I just thinking about how many shots it takes me to dial in my lighting and my photos, and then I'm imagining trying to do that with film, and I'm like, how? Yeah, I'm trying. I do want to go and learn, because it's. I feel, I feel like if you take away the digital things, I'd be so lost, and it feels weird saying that, like to have skipped this whole generation, this whole medium that is the reason why what I do now, professionally and as a hobbyist, exists.
I,
Uh,
I
you
was
know,
going to say it's pretty amazing, that you kind of had that, if I can say, rise to stardom, in that short a time. Is that what you do full time now?
Yeah, yeah, I'm a full-time employee. I go into the office, and then when I have the energy after work, I come home and then I try to shoot for myself also. I used to,
Hmm.
shoot my own stuff, before I started working there every single day. Like I'd be at my day job, just thinking, essentially just dreaming and thinking about what I was going to shoot when I got home. Not
Yep.
not actually concentrating on work because it wasn't. I didn't want to be a data analyst or inputting data at a hospital. Um, so I would get home and I would try to shoot every single day. And when I started photography, I shot every single day, multiple times a day, and that's kind of how I learned so fast. I think is because I was what I think I got known for early on was recreating like very precise frames from the Star Wars films and just like trying to recreate everything, pose, camera angle, excuse me, just everything. And because of that, I kind of learned a lot about what works, why it doesn't work, why it doesn't my image look like, the scene from Star Wars.
I was gonna say your lighting was so I was awestruck. Your galaxy shot over on Rebel Scum, right? Just making sure.
Yeah, 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 that's me.
Okay, yeah, yeah, okay. Because I remember when you were doing stuff like you had done, I think it was a bunch of clone troopers coming off the gunship, and that one caught me off guard because that one was really well done. And I was like, "Whoa, that's the lighting. The lighting is the key to a lot of these pictures. Like I assume you got use the reflectors and use your backlighting for stuff.
Yeah, yeah, every all of that. I mean, at home, I didn't have a studio set up like I do at work. I still don't necessarily have a studio at home. I shoot in my basement now. I have a nice. It's unfinished, but so there's a lot of spiders, but I use it as my studio. Um, so it's set up more as I become accustomed to shooting professional studio photography. I'm getting more equipment to kind of mimic that on my budget that I have at home. But before that, I was shooting with lamps, with sunlight, with whatever cheap, affordable lights I could get my hands on, essentially. And just learning to do what I could with that. But yeah, it's really like photography is like 80% lighting, 15% lens maybe, and then 5% the camera itself.
Yeah, diffused lighting, dude. When I was, God, I remember getting. I was taking. This is way back in the day. I was taking sheets of tracing paper and taping them together, and just taping them to like a clear piece of plastic, and holding that next to the light to get my diffusers. Oh,
Yeah,
dude, it was.
yeah. Being careful not to light them on fire,
You
depending on
got
what.
it.
Yeah, yeah. There's people that use like if you have. I would probably only suggest using this with certain LED bulbs, but I've seen people use shopping bags and different colored
Mm.
shopping bags too, because then you essentially have a
Ah.
gel lighting. I haven't done that myself because none of my lights run cool enough where I would trust that, but I
Mm.
have seen it.
So you were saying about taking a lot of different photos to get things just right. How long on average do you think it takes to get a shot?
Sometimes I get lucky and it's just like almost immediately, but that's rare. And it really depends on what I'm doing. When I'm shooting a Death Star, like Imperial hallway type scene, at this point, and I know exactly, what I want the lighting to look like and where to place everything. So it's usually pretty quick in something like that. But then when I'm doing something else, like a forest diorama or anything else, that's not something I shoot on a more regular basis. It can take like I've had you know, shots take all day just for one shot sometimes of just, banging my head against the wall trying to figure out what is not clicking into place. And sometimes I'll just need that, like I'm just trying to do something that's not working, and I'll just need to kind of waste the time of trying to do what I think it's supposed to be working, taking a break, coming back to it the next day and being like, all right, I'll just try something else, and then it clicks into place.
Now, what do you think was the most difficult one you ever did that you just kept toying with it and toying with it, no pun intended, and it was just really, really frustrating to get it just right.
Oh, I've probably omitted those from my memory at this point, so I can't. Like I still have plenty of frustrating shoots where I'm just shooting for hours, and then I'm pissed off when I go to like, because it's like the sun's gone down, I still don't have a photo, or like I spend some time editing it and then I stop and I look at it and I'm like, this is garbage. I don't even like this. I just wasted my time on this. So I mean that still happens. I don't have any particular um shots in mind from that because I just kind of move on from them. But going back to like shots, like doing something quick and getting something right, my favorite shot to this day is the little Bandai Samurai Stormtrooper that I
On the
have.
on the boat?
Yes, because that just I really couldn't shoot for too long with that because I was risking the figure just falling into the lake, and then I lost $80. So and my friend who made the boat for me messed it up a little bit. I mean, props to him for building me. He never built a functional samurai boat before, you know, but he had counterweighted it with change, which you need, which we both found out that you need, essentially to sink it into the water to keep it balanced. And he, for whatever reason, he was like, no, that's not right. And he took it all out. So when I went to the lake, this was in Central Park back in New York. It was like some random pond or something that I found. Um, and I put everything on it and I started floating it out. It capsized immediately. And I was like, what the hell?
Uh,
And then I don't remember how I realized. I was like, it needs to be like weighed down. So I literally took everything out of my pockets. I had keys, I had change. So it was like I was gonna possibly not be able to get back into my apartment if it capsized again. But it weighed it down. I took maybe 5 shots total, and of just because it was just kind of out in the water and I couldn't really control it. I had it connected to a fishing line. Then I just gently pushed it out and would just kind of, and then when I wanted to call it back or change the direction, very gently pull on the string. But it was just spinning in, kind of in place in the water, and I just snapped a few shots, pulled it back, and then like that shot that the main one that I usually post, the vibrant green one was just like that was exactly what I pictured in my head, and it came like it was one of the few times that it came out not only easily but exactly how I wanted it to.
couple questions here. How often do you have to scratch build your backdrops and accessories versus buying them? Because I know I recognize some of my stuff in there, and I recognize like some of the JTP space walls and a couple other things like that. But have you often had to say, you know what, I really need this kind of backdrop and had to build it, or do you usually always uh, take found stuff that you can buy and use?
I usually take found stuff, and that's a mix of just straight buying something pre-made or buying something and modifying it or painting it myself, like I did with the pieces I bought from you. But I have had I have had to my own stuff, and it was something I was talking about with my fiance the other day because I've been like in a rut with my photography where I'm just like I'm tired when I get home and I just like I don't want to shoot on a Death Star again, I'm like I need more backdrops. So in my old apartment, I didn't really have the space to do too much custom building because it was an apartment in New York. I can't, fumigate the whole apartment building, scratch building dioramas and painting and everything. You know what I mean? So now that I have like a basement and some space in the back, it's something I'm looking to do more of, especially because I do it a lot at work. But I, for my own personal use, like the again going back to those samurai Star Wars figures, I built like kind of a Death Star inspired samurai hallway for some of those shots. It's been a while since I used it or um, have shot those figures, but I basically took like it was a very simple build where I basically just like craft sticks and tissue paper and painted everything kind of in the colors of the Death Star, but it was designed to look like those rice paper walls that you would see in like traditional Japanese feudal houses, but also kind of recognizable as like Star Wars and the Death Star.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, how often, like I said, you buy this stuff to use in your dioramas. How much of that influences your choices? Like, do you see something and say, "Hey, if I buy that, I can use it for this particular kind of picture," or do you come up with the idea first and say, "I really want to do this kind of photo, and now I'm going to seek out like those elements and parts to use."
It's kind of both of those things. It's funny. I've always like kind of thought about this in my head before as like, what is my process? Especially if anyone ever asked me what is my process, and now I can't even remember what my answer was to that. But essentially, it depends. I'll if I get a new figure, then it's like, all right, where can I photograph this figure? What kind of environment does it need? Is it an environment I can go find, go build, go buy, and then I go from there. And then yeah, also like extreme sets, I like to buy their cardboard dials because they're very, portable and I can unpack them and build like an extravagant set and then fold them back up and pack them away again. Like I'll basically just look at their stuff and be like, what looks like it'll work for Star Wars or whatever else that I have in my collection, and I'll buy that. And then when I get it, I'll be like, okay, I'll build it. Now, what figures will work best with this? What story am I going to create? What does this look like? So it depends on what comes first. Do I get the figure first, like new figure? All right, I need an specific environment, or did I get the environment first and now I'm trying to figure out what figure do I put in it? But I will say that I usually try to hold off. Like when a new figure comes out, a lot of people, other toy photographers, I mean, will try to shoot it immediately, because it's like got to be the first to review it, got to be the first to photograph it. You know what I mean? But for me, I don't want to shoot it in a environment that's not true to it. So I'll have a figure just sitting in my bin for like years until finally I have the materials to build something or someone releases something. I'm like, yes, that's what I needed. Now I can finally shoot that figure.
So whenever I try to take photos of anything, I've taken so many product photos over the years, and it has always been miserable trying to get lighting just properly, especially because a lot of times, if it's a prop or something, I'm trying to shoot straight down on it, and it always seemed didn't matter where I had it in the room, there's light coming from somewhere. Finally, this last year, I broke down and I got myself a light box, which has helped, but it has not been still a perfect solution. So I'm going to ask you, what are some recommendations to get good photos and get that lighting just right?
I started with a light box too. That was one of the first things I bought was a light box. I used that thing for a long time, to the point where I felt lost when I would try to where I couldn't take photos inside of it because it's only so big. So it's funny, especially when I look back during the time that I was using that. It was like a 24 by 24 light box. So all of my dials whatever dial I bought, built, constructed, whatever it was, had to fit in there. So all of my photos I feel have this feeling of a very specific size because they all had to fit in this very tight space. And when I finally started going bigger and I couldn't fit things in the light box or I couldn't use it for whatever reason, I felt very lost without it. It's really going it I guess it depends on what lights you're using. The best thing that I could recommend is to look up lighting on YouTube. Lighting is not something that I can necessarily describe just through words. It's better shown, and that's how I learned all for myself. I watched a lot of photography and lighting videos on YouTube. I still do. When my free time, I'm always like adding things to my like Photoshop and photography playlist and watching what I can, coming back to it later. Like looking up 1 point or 2 point lighting setups is it'll help you a lot in terms of how to angle it, where to place it. And I remember eventually when lighting started to really click for me, I was out with my fiance. We were like just doing a walk through our city. So we'll go out and just like, just go for walks with our cameras. And I just remember watching the sunlight kind of play off of a flower and the way it was hitting it in the shade and sun. And then I was like, "Holy crap, I can see the light." It was like a clicking moment, whereas before that, I was kinda flailing around of just, like, constantly moving the lights in every direction, and it just never looked right, and then eventually I would take a picture, I was like, "Oh, there's the lighting I want," but not being able to recreate it, you know?
I noticed one thing that I think is really cool on I don't remember if it's your website or your Instagram, but you would have the photo, and then the next photo would be like a video clip showing it through the monitor on the camera and then pan
Mhm.
up to see what you're shooting. I really liked that because it's a little bit of peek behind the magic curtain and seeing how you're composing the shots. And I saw in one you were trying to light, I think like a flame, like some sort of flame effect, and it looked like you had a tiny cube-shaped light.
Yeah, those are
What
Loom
is
cubes. Yeah, so Loom Cube is the brand. I have a lot of Loom Cube stuff because they're just really nice portable lights. They make a lot of stuff. They're not cheap, but they're not expensive either, especially as far as lighting goes. You can find there are a lot of different Loom Cube-esque products out there for cheaper. I don't know how other brands compare. I see a lot of other toy photographers using other brands where like one Loom Cube is like, I don't know, $60, I think, maybe more.
ooh,
And and you could
ooh.
find and you could find like other brands with a product that looks almost identical for like 20 bucks. I don't know how good they are, and I'm sure depending on your needs, they're probably just fine. But yeah, that they're just nice small lights. They have magnetic modifiers on them, so you can put colored gels to change the color of the light, or warm it up or cool it down. You can put what they call barn doors on it, which lets you kind of shape the light a little bit, so you can create like a very thin like stream or ray of light uh, on a very specific area. For what they come with a few things, so it's not just the light. They are nice little setups. I definitely need to get some more of those. The ring lights. I've seen some toy photographers use ring lights, and they're nice. I haven't worked with one myself, but it creates a really nice. The whole point of it is to create a really nice even light on the subject. So maybe give that a try. See how that looks.
For your personal builds, what's the largest diorama you've had to make for your shots? Or what largest background, I should say?
The largest background that I've that's a tough one. Was it the recently released Boba Fett starship? Is I built that hanger on the packaging to the scale of the katana. So that was probably,
Ooh,
and that was completely scratch built. That's probably the largest diorama I've built because I don't have room to build something like that in my house.
that was did you use styrofoam to build that with, or did you?
Yeah, yeah, that's it's foam core, the pink insulation foam,
Hmm,
and spackle and
gotcha. I'm always thinking about making giant scenery, but I'm like, man, how is that gonna photograph?
well, the thing
So
is, if you make giant scenery, you have to store giant scenery,
that's
so
the thing, yeah.
that's why I like the cardboard sets from like Cardboard Galaxy and Extreme sets because I can just fold them up and pack them away.
Hmm.
All right, Matt. Well, it was nice having you on. You were kind of one of those people that we said, yeah, we want to get a toy photographer on. And like I said, talking on Yak Face, I saw that you had some really, really cool work. I think one of the first things I saw from you was something with Dr. Afra in a shootout or something like that. And
Oh yeah, that's on. That's actually on. I know exactly which shot you're talking about. That's on one of the extreme sets. And it just reminded me of that very specific comic panel of her running away from stormtroopers, like the environment. So that's where that shot came from.
yeah, that was really cool. And well, you do good work, man.
Thank you.
And so if anyone wants to check out your work, where can they go?
They can go. I generally direct people to my Instagram. It's my main page, Shooting the Galaxy, one word, on Instagram. And I also have my website, which is matthewcohen.photography.
All right.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, you have a good one.
You
Yeah,
too.
you too, Matt.